Hi, everyone. I'm here today on Water Day 3/22/22 with scientist, biophysicist William Brown. And as many of you know, William Brown works with Nassim Harriman in their laboratory, Taurus Tech. And William, with his biophysics background, has done a lot of research looking at water and its effects on living systems. And they've developed, as many of you know, the arc crystal and looked at the effects that the arc crystal has on water, and then therefore treated water on plants and other types of systems, and arrays of arc crystals like the tetrahelix. So there's very exciting results that they've seen with looking at the water passing through the tetrahelix and its effects on plants and other systems. And they've done a lot of physical chemistry type research on water. They've also done a lot of theoretical modeling. So theoretical modeling, looking at water's role with the origin of life, and now water's role with brain function, and water's role with bioenergetics, which is really one of my very favorite topics. And so today we're gonna look at that and talk about that. Nassim has written some incredible new physics along with his scientific partner Olivier, and they're starting to apply their mathematical formulas to the human body. And William Brown here has been very involved in that. And it turns out water plays an enormous role as an interface and as a conductor of energy and information. And so in the human body with regard to energy production and our interaction with the unified field. So this is an opportunity for all of us to geek out a little bit and really dive in deep. And so I'm going to just let you, one of the most brilliant biophysicists I've ever met, take the floor. And so go ahead, William, just let us know what you've been doing.
Thank you, Beth. It's great to be speaking with you, and really excited to share some of this information, our latest work on Water Day here. As you had described, Nassim and Olivier have been finishing their 2-year-long round-the-clock work on a unified physics, model of unified physics that is probably one of the most comprehensive solutions I've seen. So it's one of the most comprehensive solutions that's been produced to date. And it's very exciting because we're at the point in the development of the theory of the mathematics, the solutions, that we can start to see how it applies to the functioning of the biological system. So we can start to apply some of the mathematics. There's thermodynamic equations. There's equations for phase transitions of matter. So like crystalline phases, liquid phases, amorphous phases, these kind of things, which actually become very pertinent when you're thinking about water and the different kind of phase transitions it can have, particularly the liquid crystalline phase, which is very interesting. But so, we've been able to start applying some of these mathematics to the study of the biophysics, in particular, a new bioenergetics of the cell. So looking at the molecular level of the energy production and utilization of the cellular system.
And are you talking primarily right now about the energy production in the mitochondria?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that is the star player when it comes to bioenergetics. So veritably, all of the cellular energy that allows us to live and thrive and function moment to moment, day to day, it's coming from the energy production occurring in the mitochondria. And this it's a subcellular organelle for folks that don't know. So, within each one of your cells, you can have anywhere from 100 to 1,000 mitochondria. And it's just this extremely dynamic living system within the cell.
Yeah.
It,
And I think it's good for our viewers to note, to learn that at one point, these were bacteria. And at some point in our evolution, they moved intracellular and then became part of our cells. And now they function as an intracellular organelle.
Yeah. And, owing to that bacterial ancestry, so that they're at some point, they were essentially endosymbionts of the cell. You can, when you look at them like in live microscopy, it almost seems like they do still kind of have a mind of their own.
Really? They move around, like kind of swim around like bacteria.
Yeah.
I know. It's super cool.
Yeah. Very, very dynamic.
And they have the same kind of DNA as bacteria. So it's very different than our, it's very different than our DNA. It's circular.
Yeah, a circular plasmid. And it's only about 1,500 base pairs long compared to our 3 billion long genomes. There's a lot of interesting things that can be said about the DNA. As well. Just that it's very interesting because having a more bacterial-like genome, they don't have any of the what we call like non-protein coding gene segments. So like mobile genetic elements, highly repetitive DNA elements. So, 98% or more of our genome are these non-protein coding gene segments. But so like the mitochondrial genome and bacterial genomes as well are just like extremely streamlined. So they're much smaller, where it's mostly just genes.
Just the stuff that is necessary for their form and function.
But so within the mitochondria, we have the energy production, which is the production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is it's actually a nucleotide, nucleoside. Adenosine is one of the nucleotides for the base pair of DNA. And in terms of cellular bioenergetics, it is the currency of energy. So just about every energetic process taking place in the cell and in the body is occurring via exchanges or the transfer of the phosphate groups of the ATP. Now, in mitochondria, what you have occurring is the transduction of energy. So the conversion of energy from one form to another. So
like a transformer. Like
So the mitochondria are using water to form a electrochemical gradient. So that's electrical potential energy. And then it can convert that electrochemical potential energy into mechanical energy. So that's kinetic energy.
Is that spinning the router?
That's the rotor. That's the motor.
I think it's really important. I don't want to interrupt you, but it's important for people to note that within the mitochondria, you have these routers that at one point in a conversation I had with you, William, you said is spinning at the same rate as a jet engine. That's like spinning the protons across the membrane right?
Yeah. So, when it's just humming along, it's at about 8,000 to 10,000 RPM, which is
Mhm.
a jet engine, the rotational rate of a jet engine.
Mhm.
In some of our calculations, we've shown that at particular pH gradients, electrochemical
Mhm.
potentials, which is formed by grabbing protons from the liquid crystalline water matrix in the mitochondria. At particular pH gradients that can get as high as 60,000 RPM,
Whoa.
1,000 revolutions per second.
Okay, let's put this in perspective for a minute. This is extraordinary. So that's like, that would be way faster than the fastest jet on the planet,
Yeah,
by like what, 5 times?
yes.
And how many of these routers do you have on one mitochondria?
So if you were to look inside the mitochondria, so the mitochondria are double-celled organelle. So they've got
Double membraned.
a double membrane
Yeah.
organelle. So they've got an outer membrane, which is in the cytosol of your cell.
Mhm.
And then they have an inner membrane. In the inner membrane, it's highly infolded.
Yep.
So it actually resembles a lot like the sulci and gyria, the neocortex of the
Yes,
brain,
very much so.
which
Mhm.
I don't think is coincidental.
No,
You know, uh,
definitely not.
yeah, and that kind of starts to speak to some of the roles of the mitochondria in information transduction in the cell. It is also somewhat the brain
That's
of
right.
the cell. Now, that high degree of folding of the inner membrane gives it a large surface area, much larger than if it was just a simple spherical membrane. The reason for that is uh, it can fit a lot more of those rotors, those
Mhm.
ATP synthase enzymes,
Mhm.
catalytic converters, all
Yep.
along that inner membrane. And also it forms little compartments called cristae
Yep.
inside. And
Yeah.
if you look at that inner membrane through like an electron microscope, you can just see it's studded with these ATPase enzymes.
Okay, so you've got thousands of these within the inner membrane of one mitochondrion.
Yeah.
You have sometimes multiple thousands mitochondria within a cell. Each one of these can be rotating at jet engine speeds or 5 times that. And it's the water that's driving it. I think that's the critical thing to say on water day. Hello, we're 99% water by number of molecules, and the water is driving this. And so, talk about how this plugs us into the whole matrix of the unified field and allows for the exchange of energy from the field itself.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's like a water engine
Yeah, I've
because
always said it's like a free energy engine. Just plug it in there.
yeah, because the water is what's supplying the protons to form that electrochemical gradient,
Mhm.
which forms the proton motive force that allows the rotor to convert electromechanical energy into
Mhm.
chemical bond energy, the ATP.
Right.
And when it does that, it regenerates, I should say, water. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like water in, water out, and then, uh, you know,
Oh,
the,
so
the,
beautiful.
uh, the free energy utilization, there's the primary source is from pyruvate. So, um, it is using the chemical bonds we get from food to produce high energy electrons to pump those protons against their osmotic gradient to produce that electrochemical potential. There are some other possibilities. It can drive some of the ATP production just by being in sunlight.
Hmm.
So light absorption can cause um, ATP biosynthesis. And one of the things that we're looking at is coupling with the energy structure of space-time.
That's what that's what we should talk about.
Okay. Yeah, because some of the mathematics that Nassim and Olivier have been writing to describe the constitutive energetic fluctuations that are occurring all the time in free space. That's also known as the quantum vacuum fluctuations. The vacuum kind of classically is empty and devoid of energy. It's a true vacuum in that sense. But once you start applying quantum mechanics to it, quantum field theory, you see that empty space is not empty.
Right.
In fact, the physicist John Archibald Wheeler said that space, the vacuum, is the seat of the highest energy physics.
Yep.
Because actually at the Planck scale, you have basically the highest energy vibrations, oscillations that are allowable before the space collapses into a black hole.
Wow.
But that's
so cool. I mean, you just think about I just want to back up for a second because sorry to interrupt, but the size of a Planck to a human cell is the size of a human cell to the universe. So you have these little tiny things that are almost infinitely small, and they're all they've got this vorticular kind of dynamic happening. They're all moving and vibrating. Then you have so many packed together. What's the number in a proton, for example? 10 to the 64?
Well, 10 to the 80.
10 to the 80. Packed in there. They're all doing their little gyrations.
That's as many protons as there are in the universe.
Oh my
10
God.
to the 80.
10 to the 80. So, I mean, so yes, it's the most incredibly high energy state when you're going down at the quantum level. And that's what we're all birthed from. Like, that's what we all derive from this incredibly high energy state. Yeah. And so I think what the physics that are being written currently, they'll be published shortly, really are going to talk about how do we interact with that energy. And right here, I've always been fascinated with the mitochondria and water, like two favorite topics. And it's like, it's all coming together right here in this intersection of how water is playing this role in the mitochondria to really plug us into the energies of the vacuum.
It's the interface.
It's the interface. It's the interface for so much in the body. I mean, really, it's the interface for everything. It's how our entire body is interacting with the unified field. But I think also I wanted to ask you, like, how I went through medical school, and I was taught your ATP production depends on the glucose in your diet and the oxygen that you breathe. And then when you really do the math, and I can't believe more people haven't critically thought about this, there's no way in the world that you can eat enough food to generate the mitochondria, to generate the ATP that's literally required to fuel your body, let alone if you're running a marathon or something like that. Yeah. Right. So now, are you saying that it's really the water that's supplying the energy for that?
Yeah. Well, via coupling to the energetic structure, the energetic dynamic of space that you just described, those quantum energetic fluctuations or oscillations. Because I mean, if you're sitting around in a given day, you regenerate your body's weight in ATP. That's how much you're using just on baseline thermal processes and maintenance processes of your body.
Right. And then you run a marathon and you're generating tons.
Yeah.
I think what is it, like 2 tons?
It's approximately a metric ton a metric ton,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
1,000 kilograms of ATP that you're regenerating.
Wow.
So yeah, so you've got the adenosine diphosphate. You could think of it as like the backbone. And then what the mitochondria does is it puts a high energy phosphate group onto it. And just by the way, the phosphate that it puts on there is quantum entangled. So it actually,
And
ATP has been shown by like mainstream physicists to be a potential functional qubit, quantum bit. But
I need to hear more because that was bothering me too. Okay, because where's all this coming from? So we're
yeah, because
sharing our phosphate? Like, is that what you're saying? Through the vacuum?
well, so there's it's spin entanglement.
Okay.
So there's two elements primarily in the body. If you count lithium-6, there's three, and lithium-6 plays an important role. But there's two elements in the body that have a special spin state of the nuclei. One is the proton in water. Water, when it's in the liquid crystalline phase, that's how it exists in the cell, in the cellular system. The protons there are delocalized.
Yeah.
That means that they're being shared with the oxygens.
Right.
So,
Right.
you have this.
It's like a colloid or, yeah.
And it's this like dynamic equilibrium exchange between H3O and OH, with the protons moving around.
Right.
The protons, they have spin, and the spin that they have is a special state that is very weakly interacting with ambient magnetic fields and electrical fields. So if you have two such protons in this water matrix that interact with each other, they can become entangled and maintain that entangled state for physiologically relevant timeframes before decoherence occurs. Because the body is, compared to most quantum mechanical states, a high temperature system. The other element that has this unique spin state is phosphorus. That is the center of that phosphate group in ATP. So you have with ATP, that's triphosphate, three phosphate groups attached to the adenosine nucleoside. When the ATPase, the mitochondria, is putting that phosphate group onto ADP, it's actually becoming quantum entangled with the phosphates on that ADP because the spin state can become quantum entangled, and it's long lasting because of the specific spin of phosphorus. Is very resistant to decoherence by ambient magnetic and electrical fields. So
Fluffy thing. Otherwise we'd all disappear.
So this ATP, the mitochondria is generating all this quantum entangled ATP that's going out into the cell, going out into the intercellular system, and you can think of it as forming like this entanglement network. With all these qubits. And so ATP molecule leaves the mitochondria, goes to a enzyme in the cell that's important for like DNA replication, even mitosis of the cell, regulating aspects of mitosis of the cell, puts this quantum entangled phosphate group onto it. Now you've got a direct informational link between the water matrix in the mitochondria that's coupled to the vacuum structure and physiological regulatory activities of the cell. So what we can begin to do is form like a direct causal link of information transduction. And the mitochondria is really it's a transducer. So it's converting or transducing energy, and we believe in what we're starting to apply the mathematics to describe is also transduction of information that goes hand in hand with the bioenergetics, the generation of energy, which, as you pointed out, really can't be fully accounted for by what you eat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, especially when you consider like a fasting state, like 40 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
so I'm almost got the analogy just now of like the we're getting plugged into the vacuum via the mitochondria, and the water's like the electrical wire.
Well, so one of the really interesting things about some of the mathematics that Olivier and Nassim had developed is in describing that quantum vacuum fluctuation of space. They're actually applying, oh, nice. Cheers. That's some of our arc crystal structured water there. But they're actually applying some of the same mathematics that are used to describe phase transitions in water. So, say water going from the liquid to the crystalline phase, liquid to solid phase. You can actually describe the vacuum Planck plasma, those energetic quantum harmonic oscillators, with some of the same mathematics for phase transition.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because they're all plasmas, right? Like, so you've got the Planck plasma, and then water you could almost describe like a plasma.
Very, very much,
Yeah.
very similar. I mean, especially in the mitochondria, where you've got these delocalized or free-ranging protons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that intermembrane compartment of the mitochondria, you've got a high amount of free protons, almost like a plasma state.
Yeah.
And that's what's supplying the proton motive force to drive the ATP rotor, the synthase.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So knowing what you're, just with all this modeling that you guys are doing, where do you see it going from here? Like, this is what I think people are really going to want to know. So how does this benefit me? Because I'm imagining that we're going to be able to design technologies to support health, because really, as I've said so many times, like mitochondrial functioning and learning how to optimize that in medicine is truly the holy grail, because mitochondrial dysfunction is at the root of all diseases and really at the root of aging. It's like our mitochondria, don't become dysfunctional as we age as our mitochondria become dysfunctional.
Well said.
And so it's like we now are so close to really cracking the code on how to optimize mitochondrial function. And we have some good technologies so already that are really game changers for my patients, like the near infrared light therapies, the red light therapies, and NADIVs that I'm doing in the clinic. And, of course, the nutrients we've been working with for some time, peptides to kind of enhance coupling of cardiolipin, with the membrane. And so there's a lot that we have, but it's just the tip of the iceberg of what's possible. Like what I'm envisioning one day is someone being able to step into a chamber and it somehow like aligns the mitochondria with the vacuum, plugs us in a more efficient way. What do you see for the future?
Very similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you have all these spin dynamics that are central to this the bioenergetics of the mitochondrial ATP production and functionality. Spinning of the protons in the water, spinning of the proton-like plasma in the intermembrane compartment, coupling like a transformer, like an inductor, to the spinning rotor of the ATPase, the ATP synthase enzyme. It's possible to have like a spin-to-spin coupling. So with like a spinning plasma to produce a like a circularly polarized electromagnetic field with like highly coherent
Yes.
spin orientation. And what we hope to do is by fully characterizing these spin state of the ATP synthase, its energetic flux and transduction of energy from the electrochemical potential energy to the chemical bond energy in ATP, we could produce a system that can couple to that. And really in the mitochondrial inner membrane, this is a super complex of ATPases. And the potential to synchronize them all, because synchronize all their spin states, so that the efficiency of ATP production goes to like 100%. Because the ATP is a very interesting thermodynamic system in that it converts that energy already from the mechanical kinetic energy of the spin to ATP synthesis. It has 100% efficient energy transfer. In terms of like thermodynamics, that
doesn't happen.
That needs to be explained.
It's a miracle. It's
yeah. And I think that that's another area where we'll be able to explain how that is able to occur via the coupling with the vacuum structure.
Right. I think that basically, if we can optimize coupling with the vacuum structure, then there is the appropriate exchange of energy to maintain the physiology and to reduce entropy. They just must, right in that area, there must be such great coherency. It allows for this kind of perfect functioning.
And so the energetic state of the mitochondria is also for it an informational state. And so, it can tell the mitochondria whether or not it needs to multiply, have the cell multiply, or it can be a signal to the mitochondria to like undergo apoptosis.
I know. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like what happens as we age because this happens, but what tends to happen as we age chronologically is that you just have more and more and more mitochondria that are slightly damaged, that are just not working as well. And really, you need to trigger mitophagy, which is like the cell, to recognize that and kill that one and then make a new one that's that's bigger and more robust and pristine, so that it can then function at kind of this youthful level. And
well, even parallel to that, getting rid of senescent cells. A huge part of aging is the accumulation of these senescent cells that just sit there and pump out inflammatory cytokines, essentially toxins, and they're, they're not fully functional cells.
Right.
Mitochondria tell those cells to go away,
Die.
apoptosis.
Yeah. Like it's really equally important, to birthing a new cell is to killing a bad one
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
body in
yeah,
order to stay healthy.
yeah.
And
Because
that's where some of these practices come into the play, these studied practices of like caloric restriction and
yeah,
intermittent fasting and ketogenic diets and things that kind of remind the body to kind of like clean up the old stuff and birth the new.
yeah, yeah. And so, it's like we have technologies in mind for under development to more strongly couple the body via the mitochondria, via the water matrix in the mitochondria, to that information energy structure, especially the coherent phases of the quantum vacuum. And by doing that, it'll increase cellular vitality, which is part and parcel with increasing correct intercellular signaling about cellular regulation.
Yes.
For rejuvenation purposes. And the our crystal water is kind of the first iteration in that technology.
And you can totally tell the difference with this water. This is what I drink all day. Love it.
Yeah, and since I've been getting into some of the modeling and some of the mathematics for the energy production in the mitochondria, it just has me like super cognizant every time I'm reaching for the water to drink it. Just the understanding that water that I'm drinking, a good portion of it is going into the mitochondria, and that water is going to be incorporated into that crystalline matrix inside the matrix of the mitochondria, and it's going to be supplying the protons that are driving that ATP production, those ATPase enzymes.
Yeah.
So it's like this, even as a first iteration technology, is already helping to augment the coupling of the mitochondria to that energy transduction system.
Yeah. And I think, and we've talked a lot about how the water's serving as a substrate with these kind of protons, delivering these protons. But I also just want to reemphasize that when we're replete with water in the body, our whole body is like a liquid crystal. And I feel that acts like an interface. It acts like an amplifying conduit between our biology and the energy and information in the unified field. Yes. So it just again, on Water Day, want to emphasize that one of the most important things you can do for your health is drink water, and drink the right water, ideally purified and structured water that's been energized, something like with the Arc Crystal here, because you want to ideally be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water every day. And I can completely tell who does that and who doesn't do that when in my medical practice. And just even when I'm walking down the street, it's so evident. And you will feel better. You will think better. You will have greater meditations. You will have less pain in your body. You will have fewer toxins in your body. Your immune system works better. Everything works better. And you've kind of related to our discussion today, you're just going to have more energy. It's going to help you feel plugged in to the field, as you should. It's like plugging into an electric outlet.
And if you can start with liquid crystalline water going in, it's gonna make it all the much more easy for your body to form that liquid crystalline quantum coherent state
inside.
Yeah,
because it takes energy. It takes energy to structure the water, whether it's outside your body or structure it inside your body. So if you're pulling into your body water that's already kind of taken that energy to form structure, whether it lasts as it's passing through your digestive acids and everything when it goes into the body in its structured state or not, is almost irrelevant, because it the energy that was required to structure the water outside your body gets communicated to your physiology once it's inside. So it's really critical to drink structured water if you can, and there's multiple ways to structure water. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people talking today about different ways to structure water. But William, this is such a great conversation, and this will appeal to the scientifically minded people here, and hopefully to everyone, just to kind of distill out the salient points of, we are derived from this field of energy and information, and our health depends on our degree of resonance with this field, and water plays a huge role in that. And you and Nassim and Olivier are writing the math and kind of modeling how this water is actually doing that. And it's just so fun to learn. So thank you. And I can't wait to see the technologies that spin out of this. And I think we'll be sharing more about these technologies in the coming months.
Well, I certainly look forward to further discussions with you about as the technologies develop and as some of our work develop.
Awesome. You're one of my favorite people to talk to, William. Thank you so much for coming on. Okay. Take care. Say hi to everyone over at Torstech.
Take care.
Bye.